Some people go to therapy. I made this. This, my friends, is a Churro Cheesecake Bar. It's creamy, cinnamon sugar layered, and soaked in a boozy Kahlúa espresso drizzle. And it might be the reason I didn't film anything else today. And no regrets. Today on Poor Choices, we're making one of the most indulgent desserts to ever sneak its way into your fridge. Stick around because this one's decadent, dramatic, and dangerously easy to make. This recipe and more here at the Poor Choices Kitchen YouTube channel. Alright, let's set the mood and gather our ingredients. First, we need to preheat our oven to 350 degrees, and you're going to need a 9x13 baking dish, some parchment paper for a clean lift, and a mixing bowl or two, maybe a stand mixer if you want to make everything really easy. And for the dough, instead of making this from scratch, we're just going to go with 2 cans of store-bought crescent dough because we're lazy and we don't want to stress. But we are going to make it taste like a churro went to culinary school. As for that cheesecake filling, you're going to need some cream cheese, granulated sugar, 1 egg, vanilla, salt, and some optional lemon zest. And for that signature cinnamon sugar churro magic, we're going to grab some brown sugar, some ground cinnamon, and a little bit of butter. And for our glaze, we're going to spike it with Kahlúa and a shot of espresso because flavor and caffeine are both forms of therapy. So let's start with our flavor layering. We're going to melt 3 tablespoons of butter in a small bowl, and then we're just going to stir in 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and a splash of vanilla extract or even a little Kahlúa if you're in the mood. And this is going to soak into that dough and make everything taste like warm, boozy bakery dreams. In a separate bowl, we're going to beat together 2 8-ounce blocks of softened cream cheese until it's smooth. And hey, make sure your cream cheese is softened. Leave it out for 30 to 60 minutes depending on how warm your kitchen is. You want it soft enough to blend smooth, but not melted. If you let it sit out too long, it'll get oily or soupy and then your filling texture won't hold up. It'll be harder to spread and it could bake unevenly. We're going for creamy, not chaotic. Add in a half cup of granulated white sugar, 1 large egg, and look at me. These are the times we live in. I spilled a little bit of egg white on the counter and I'm trying to scoop it up and back in like it cost me $1,000. It really only cost me like $100. A teaspoon and a half of vanilla, a pinch of salt, and if you're feeling classy, a little zest from a lemon. Lemon zest might sound random here, but it actually wakes up the whole filling. That little hit of citrus cuts through the richness of the cream cheese and balances the sweetness, kind of like how a squeeze of lime levels up a taco. It doesn't make the bars taste lemony, it just gives them a subtle freshness that makes people go, wait, why is this so good? And now it's time to fight ourselves out of a paper bag, a parchment paper bag to be exact. We're gonna line a 9x13 inch pan with some parchment paper, and we wanna leave a little bit of overhang on the sides to act as handles. So lightly spray the bottom if you want to stay put, and here's how I handled the parchment. I pulled a big sheet, I set my pan on top, I folded the paper up around the sides to get some crease marks, then I made a few strategic cuts along the corners so it would fold in better without bunching. And did it fit perfectly? Absolutely not, but that's the beauty of cooking. Half the time you're just adjusting on the fly. And it still worked beautifully. If your parchment's acting wild, don't toss it, just crease it, trim it, nudge it into place, it'll still do the job. You can also buy pre-cut parchment paper inserts that are perfectly cut for like a standard 9x13 dish if you don't feel like you're up for the arts and crafts. Roll out that first can of crescent dough and press it onto the bottom, pinching the seams together if it's not a sheet style dough, and try to get it out to the edges as best as you can. And don't sweat if it falls apart like my top layer actually did right here. It's all going to bake and become one giant delicious disaster. Brush the bottom layer with half of your cinnamon brown sugar butter, and then hit it with about 2 to 3 tablespoons of our cinnamon sugar mix. That's half a cup of sugar mixed with about 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. Now gently spread your cheesecake filling all over that dough, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but try to get an even layer. And I also hit that with a little dusting of our cinnamon sugar mix. Then roll out your second crescent dough sheet and place it on top. Brush it with the rest of that cinnamon butter and cover the whole surface with the remaining cinnamon sugar mix. Be generous. You want that churro crust to show up when it bakes. Then you're going to bake your bars at 350 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes until the top is golden and slightly puffed. Right about now, your kitchen should be smelling like the best parts of a county fair and a coffee shop had a love child. Once the time is up, get them out of the oven and let those bars cool uncovered for about 30 to 60 minutes, so that way the steam escapes and your top crust stays intact. Then cover them with foil or a plastic wrap and chill it in the fridge for at least 4 hours or overnight if you're planning ahead. Chilling overnight doesn't just make slicing easier, it actually improves the flavor. The cinnamon sugar on top settles into the dough, the cheesecake firms up, and everything gets a chance to mingle. It's like giving the dessert time to develop a personality. The texture gets cleaner, the flavor gets deeper, and the bars taste more cohesive the next day. So be patient and your prize shall be worth it. And once the bars have chilled, we're gonna make our Kahlúa espresso drizzle. In a bowl or a squeeze bottle, which was incredibly difficult for me to do on this day. I wonder why. It was 420. We're going to mix together half a cup of powdered sugar, 1 tablespoon of Kahlúa, and 1 tablespoon of espresso or a strong coffee. And if it's too thick, you can thin it out with a splash of milk or cream until it's pourable but still clings to a spoon. And then just taste it. It should be sweet with a hint of coffee and liqueur. And if it makes you want to drizzle it on everything you own, you know you're doing it right. So we'll take our fully chilled bars, we're gonna lift them out of the pan using the parchment paper, then grab yourself a sharp knife. I'm actually using this Detroit style pizza cutter here. Dip it in some hot water, wipe it clean, and this is gonna help make nice clean cuts. And then once you got it on a plate, drizzle that Kahlúa espresso glaze all over the top. And while it's still slightly tacky, grab a bar of dark chocolate and using either a microplane or a pillar, just shave it right over the top. It looks fancy, adds richness, and ties the whole dessert together. This dessert is buttery and crispy on the outside, soft and creamy in the center, with a cinnamon sugar punch that gets rounded out by that boozy espresso drizzle. It's churro meets cheesecake meets maybe I don't need dinner tonight. And hey, if this recipe made your sweet tooth tingle, hit that like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss more moments of dessert-driven joy. Of course, all the measurements for this recipe are in the description, and if you want to support the challenge, you can check out the Patreon or become a YouTube member, and you can also check out the Amazon affiliate links to the tools I use in this recipe. All those things help pay for recipes in these here inflated times. And hey, while you're here, throw out some other cheesecake recipes you'd like to see. I actually was just trying to come up with something for Cinco de Mayo, and I was going through all the different types of tacos, and then I somehow landed on desserts. And when I saw the concept for churro cheesecake, I was automatically sold. Of course, I had to do some things to level it up, like add copious amounts of butter. You're gonna thank me later for that one. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and until next time, peace.